Hey everyone, it's Colin. I'm so excited for the upcoming launch of the Switch 2, and I thought it'd be a great time to look back at the first one. The Nintendo Switch is a little over 8 years old now, which is pretty hard to believe. It's honestly pretty crazy to me. I remember being so excited for this console when all the trailers were coming out. It was insane. That was all the way back when I was in middle school. I've managed to land a pre-order on the next one, and I figured there's no better way to get back into that Nintendo mood than revisiting some classics. No, we're not going to be playing 1-2 Switch. To start off the journey, I feel like we couldn't begin this any other way than starting with the launch title, Breath of the Wild. After all, it was one of the first games on the Switch, and honestly, the whole reason I wanted one. I remember watching the game reviews and the portable handheld footage and just being wowed at such a big game being played on a portable device. It was a huge step up from the world that was the 3DS or the PSP, which were the only two really portable handhelds I owned before that, or at least the more powerful ones. I never really had a PS Vita in life until far down the road. Nonetheless, we start off on the Great Plateau, and this brought back a whole lot of great memories. This really is the best intro to any game I have ever played. I mean, I think this so much so that I made a whole video about it, and that was what started off me on this channel. Of course, I didn't get to dive as deep into Breath of the Wild as I would have liked to, as I only had a couple hours for it. But I'm still gonna give quite a few of my thoughts on the game overall because I just love this game. One thing this game does very well, in my opinion, is the story. And that is a very hot take, and I am very aware of that. And yes, I do believe there was a lot of missed opportunity with it, but hear me out for a second. I really enjoyed experiencing things at the same pace that Link was. This game does a great job of putting you in our hero's shoes and making his and your journey one of the same. What I mean by this is that when playing through the game, Link doesn't remember anything at all, which means when you go through all of these cutscenes, Link is re-remembering them or kind of experiencing them for the first time again, just like the player. So I've felt a lot closer to Link throughout the story, and especially in my first playthrough. Now when it comes to the actual core exploration, I would argue this game does it perfectly. I really enjoy the shrines everywhere in the open world. It was a great way to keep the player exploring the land of Hyrule, while also building Link's durability. I personally have done every shrine that the game has to offer. And a little spoiler alert if you haven't done it yet, but if you do all 120 shrines, at the very end you can unlock the Hero of the Wild set, I believe, which is basically just Link's iconic green outfit. But honestly, the biggest benefit of doing all of the shrines is really just the sheer amount of hearts and stamina you build up. Because the more shrines you do, the easier your playthrough gets. So the game really does reward you for putting in that time to venture around the world, which most games do, but Breath of the Wild's simple execution for it honestly holds up a lot better in my opinion. Anyways, I'll stop going on and on about this game because I do plan on making a video solely committed to it in the future, but for now we have to move on. Heading into the second day, we did a little bit of everything. I started out with a little bit of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I think I only played 1 or 2 cups when it came to this game, mainly because I have to wait for Mario Kart World and I don't want to burn myself out on Mario Kart right before the new one comes out. But nonetheless, at least at this point in time, I believe Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is objectively the best Mario Kart. That could change here very soon with Mario Kart World, as it looks to be super ambitious and really fun, but the sheer amount of tracks that are in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is absolutely crazy. Not even the factor in all the DLC cups on top of that, you have a very overwhelmingly large amount. And this just helps build the replay value for the game up exponentially. Although the game has been out for 12 years now, so I honestly would hope there's a lot of content there if you're not going to put out another Mario Kart for that long. I do believe we're about due for the next entry, but nonetheless this game is still amazing. The graphics still look very good to today's standards, and that probably has a lot to do with that Nintendo charm. I'm also very glad they decided to bring Link into this entry, which it seems he's been cut from the roster when it comes to World, but I guess it is Super Mario Kart and not Nintendo Kart. So now we have like a cow and a bunch of the other guys, but honestly those are pretty funny, so I'll take it. Next up in my day, I ended up booting up some Splatoon 2. No, I have not bought the third one, mainly because Nintendo keeps their games at $60. Like seriously, this game's coming up on 3 years old and it's still full price. I mean, in that case, Breath of the Wild's also full price. That's just Nintendo for you. Splatoon 2 is a very good game, but as of today, it really doesn't have a lot of people playing it right now. The queue times can get pretty long, which is a pretty big downside, and also when you do finally get into the game, normally one person has disconnected, leaving a disadvantage on either one of the teams. But the few good games that I did get into and play were just like the good old days. and they were a lot of fun. I probably would buy 3 if it wasn't still full price, and I might even bite the bullet at some point soon, but I had a very, very good time playing Splatoon 2 again. Splatoon was always one of those games that I really, really did like. I just didn't have a bunch of friends that played it, or even a bunch of friends that had a Switch at that time. So I didn't really play it a super large amount, because with multiplayer games, they're just a lot more fun if you play it with your friends. But I still have a bunch of clips from it, and it's honestly a very unique shooter. I remember I always wanted to try it when I saw it on the Wii U, but I didn't own a Wii U, so I never could. So when they finally announced it for the Switch, I was pretty hyped about it, and knowing that you could take it anywhere you go just made it all that much better. The concept of inking turf opposed to being more PvP centric was a lot more fun, and I believe is what carries this game pretty hard. They have a bunch of ranked modes, and I never really got into them, but I do remember having a good time. The biggest thing I remember about Splatoon 2 was the Splatfests, and those were always a blast and had me playing at pretty much all hours of the day. But once I got done with Splatoon, I decided to move on to some Super Mario Odyssey. I was really looking forward to this one, as I've only played it once back in 2018, and I honestly didn't like it that much. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a great game. I just prefer Mario 64, or maybe even Galaxy after playing that last week, which is not normally the consensus people come to with this game. Now, I do believe that this game is definitely better in the grand scheme of things, but it just doesn't line up with my favorite. I was hoping with the time I spent with it that would change a little bit, but I didn't really get to play it that much. I only really got past that first kingdom and then the one with the dinosaurs, so really the first 2, which are pretty much just like a tutorial, and then I had to stop, and I didn't get a chance to revisit it for the rest of the week. Now, my personal favorite from back then was definitely New Donk City, as that one seems to be the most interesting overall. Not even to mention that awesome song that Paulina sings at the end of that. This is a game I'm definitely going to have to jump back into at some point because I need to give it another fair chance. I really do owe it another shot because it's been roughly, what, at least 5-6 years since I played it last, and my opinion might have changed since then. So let me know if you want a standalone Mario Odyssey video in the future. Heading into that third day, me and a couple of friends decided to play Mario Wonder. This game's art style and charm are just really cool. My only big critique of it is that things look a little too plasticky or toy-like, if you will. And also that the game's a little too easy for my personal liking. I haven't played it through all the way, so that might be why. Even some of the higher difficulty levels seem to be a little too easy for my platformer liking. You know, my buddies actually found ourselves getting pretty bored of this game after only an hour. Which is interesting, it actually left Nate saying that he prefers New Super Mario Bros. Over this one, and I'd honestly have to agree. And by that I mean everyone except the New Super Mario Bros. For the Wii U. That game is pretty dull and barren. I'll take New Super Luigi U over it any day of the week though. But like I said, when it comes to the visuals, I definitely think they're going in the right direction. And if they kept this specific style for like 1 or 2 more games, I probably wouldn't complain about it. They definitely need to make everyone's lives individual again when playing multiplayer, because I feel like that had a lot to do with the lack of challenge. The ghost mechanic helps you not lose lives, but then there's really no point in not dying as long as someone's alive on the screen. After that small little bit of wonder, me and the boys ended up jumping right into Super Smash Bros. And this is the game we'll be sending it off with. Nate, Jake, and I started with some free-for-alls for the day. And this is where I quickly learned that I am definitely the worst of the 3 of us. But I had such a good time playing through the game. It gave me a lot of nostalgia to when I was younger playing Brawl with my sister and her friends. And now that I've gotten pretty into it, it's definitely going to be a game I'm going to keep playing for a couple years to come at least. I never really got super into Ultimate. In fact, I hadn't even really bought it until like a year ago. And even then, I only played it for about an hour. That was pretty much until one night I decided to unlock all the characters, and I stumbled on Cloud, who I love from Final Fantasy VII, and his gameplay is really fun. And then after I got other people involved as well, it reminded me of those old times, gave me a lot of nostalgia, and I honestly had a blast. Nonetheless, I'm going to move on to the final day where we just continued with more Smash. So for day 4, I had Jake come over again. I had my buddy and Elliot, as well as my buddy Caleb over. And Caleb, that's the guest of honor here. He also goes by Kronos, and for those of you who may know, he is a very high-ranked Smash player. I believe he is #1 in our state and also definitely breaks the top 100 in the world. He actually just won a collegiate cup with his team and got MVP a couple weeks ago. So he's the real deal. We did some 2v2s, we did some 3v1s, and touched pretty much everything you can imagine. The most fun I personally had in the day was with the showdown mode, as you rotate through every single character until there isn't any left in a free-for-all style. It was really fun because it kept every match different. Now, it's no surprise that Caleb won at the end of it all, and it wasn't even close. He like had 10 wins or 11 or something like that. But even Elliot, who had never played Smash before, ended up getting at least one win. So I would say it was a pretty successful day and night. We all had a great time, and we talked about how we want to do it again in the future. In fact, next week when the Switch 2 does come out on the midnight release day, I will be streaming it with Jake, Caleb, and my roommate Gio. Which I'm pretty sure Caleb will be there. He's going to try to pick one up. I have a pre-order. He's going to try to pick one up in inventory at our nearby Best Buy. I'm very much looking forward to it though, because it'll be a very fun night with a lot of Mario Kart World. So if you're interested in that, I'll be streaming that either here on the Pixel Critic or over on my Twitch. So this is really it when it comes down to my week with the Switch. I'm very much looking forward to all of the good times I'm going to have with the Switch 2 going forward, but it is a little sad to see this one go. This will mark the first time ever I personally have owned a console since the very first day, and it's always been a dream of mine. Thank you guys for watching the video all the way through, as your support helps me tremendously. I would love to have you all here on my stream for launch day, as it's going to be a very fun and memorable day for me. So if you do want to be a part of it, I'd love to have you. My Twitch is twitch.tv/ColinGreener. I'll throw it up on the screen, and I'll either be streaming that there or on this very channel on YouTube. If you do like my content and you do want to see more, please consider subscribing, as it helps me grow and also get pushed out to all these other people and tells you whenever I upload. It's a pretty good deal. And yeah, I'd also love to have you guys in our community. I look forward to talking to you guys more, as we're going to have a lot of fun from here on out. And also let me know what content you want to see down below, or even if you have anything to add. That's all I got for now, and I'll see you next time on The Pixel Critic. Oh shit, I'm fucked. Oh!